This is Van Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Raj Khedun. And you have a mission to help 800 million people globally overcome insomnia with your 3x3 method. We've got your 33 insomniahack.com link there so people can check that out while we're talking. But I want to welcome you to the Fan Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing today?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this one. Thank you.
So you're in London, UK right now, right?
That's right. Yep.
That's the magic of podcasting. We can talk to anybody. I'm in New Hampshire,
New
USA.
Hampshire. Yep.
So like what made you want to get into solving sleep deprivation or insomnia?
Well, there's a bit of a backstory to this. Shall we go into that genesis a bit, or what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, it all starts when I was 3 years old. My mother takes me to a nursery school in London where I'm born for the first time. We get enrolled. We look at the playground, classrooms, and so on, and we end up in the library. And the first two books I ever pick off the bookshelf was one about dinosaurs and one about planets. Right. So that I know they sound kind of strange and bizarre, maybe, but those images, those concepts guided me throughout my entire life, more so than my conventional education could possibly do.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll think, well, what's that got to do with sleep? I'll tell you. I'll tell you the strange connection. I was wondering about evolution. Like, how do animals evolve from being a dinosaur, or being a crocodile to being a dog? It can relate to humans and then become an elephant or a dolphin, become more and more intelligent as they go up the food chain, or the hierarchy, shall we say. And I was so curious about that as a kid. I was always wondering, where is that process? How does that happen? It's invisible. Why don't we ever see that? And I was wondering, okay, can humans evolve themselves then? How many changes can they make to themselves to make themselves even more advanced than they're currently at? So that kind of preoccupied me subconsciously for years since I was a kid. The planets thing was about how the interplay of forces of the heavenly bodies interact with Earth, animals, and human beings, because no one could deny that those big planets are there. Jupiter spinning at 47,000 kilometers per hour. You've got Saturn with 22 moons. You've got Venus. You've got Mercury. You've got Mars. Go on YouTube. You can have a look at Mars, right? Because they got the NASA robots on there. And you look at the sky, it's red. You look at the ground, it's red. Okay. But there's no water. There's no plants. And there's no dinosaur bone remains of any kind. And I'm thinking, why is there an empty planet? Whereas next to it, Earth is full of life. Not only 8 billion humans, but all the animals, all the different species in the air, in the sea, the whales, the manta, stingray, crazy things on Earth, and nothing on Mars. And I was wondering, this doesn't make sense. So I wanted to understand the kind of deeper aspects of human nature and evolution, and what causes people to be different. Why are some rich? Why are some poor? Why are some strong? Why are some weak? Why do some sleep amazingly well and some hardly sleep at all? So I hope that gives a bit of a genesis backstory to how these interests unfolded.
Yeah, it's kind of wide ranging, kind of expansive mindset. Like you're looking at a wide kind of 50,000 foot view, and then you
Yeah,
probably start to zero in.
exactly. So something very unusual happened to me when I was 18. I went to India for the first time. My mother took me there. She was interested in spirituality and philosophy and all kinds of things. And I was a very arrogant, obnoxious 18-year-old from London, thinking I know something because I read a few school books, right? And I go to India and I meet, if you're familiar with the concept of an avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you have Netflix, Last Airbender, Avatar, right? They have
Yeah.
all this elements, shape shifting, all this amazing things. And of course, James Cameron's film, Avatar, which is a huge blockbuster franchise. And I thought this was all just fantasy stuff, like just nonsense. But I go to India and I meet a real life avatar, right? And he knows everything about me. He tells me about the books that I picked up the book off the bookshelf when I was 3. He knew everything about me. And he said, son, you think you know something. You don't know anything. You don't know who you are. You don't know why you're here. You don't know where you're going. You don't know how this earth was made. You don't know what happens when you die. So face it, son, you need to be humble and learn because you don't know anything. I was like, oh my God, what? What are you talking about? And this was such a slap to my ego.
Mm.
As I said, I was pretty obnoxious and I thought I knew something when I actually realized I actually don't know anything, to be honest, anything of substance, real value in life. And so he said, you got to be humble. You got to listen. Faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. We all have an inner teacher, conscience. If we don't listen to it, though, we miss it. All the deep insights that humans are supposed to get while they're on planet Earth. You'll miss it because you're distracted with Netflix and smartphones and then celebrations and weddings and flights and holidays. And you keep missing it, right? Until you're in the grave.
Yeah, we all have this filter, we kind of get these filters that we're kind of taught to think in a box. I'm a creative and I hang around a lot of creatives, and we tend to call from our subconscious and from the outer, very observant. Most artists are like, they listen before they talk.
That's right.
They actually absorb a lot, and it's inner, subconscious, and outer. And we call them muse, or we call these downloads from the universe, because you're more willing to accept something that somebody has a logical mind will say, well, I can't accept that.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think, people still talk about the Rockefeller model and being a wage slave 9 to 5 situation. So, the money system has done it to us, all society as a whole, that the education system has definitely entrapped people. And so has the health system also entrapped people. And if you don't get out of that matrix, unfortunately, you'll probably die in it, which is sad. So when I heard from the avatar that, look, the reason why these great beings who know everything, and they're not, it's natural for them. It's as natural as it is for us to breathe, for them to be all knowing that, look, yes, we have all these powers, but we're here to help humanity who are suffering. That's the point. And he said to me, and he said many, many times, that if you don't understand unconditional love, the underpinning secret law of the universe, unconditional love, compassion, kindness, respect, if you don't understand that, you've missed everything. I was like,
Yeah, because I think a
wow.
lot of times people are on this kick that they've got to be that, in America, it's the Horatio Alger myth, the kind of myth of the robber baron. Like if you can be as mean spirited as possible, but if you gather just greed is the point, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
if you just amass everything, that makes you morally superior to people who don't do that.
Correct.
And maybe it's not, it's like the empathy or the love or the understanding. Like, you don't just live by yourself on the planet.
Yeah.
There are insects, there's animals, there's nature. So if you put some poison in a stream, right, it just doesn't go away.
No.
There's no
Right.
there's no cause and effect relationship a lot of times with, like, our mindsets are like, it's all about just me getting what I want.
Correct. And there's a whole, the whole thing here is that people think life is linear. It's like you're born, you live, you die. That's it looks like that, but that's not the truth. Life is cyclical. It's circular. It's always a system going round and round and round. If you can't see that, it's because you haven't analyzed yourself properly to see the systems that you've got going.
A
That
lot of
is,
indigenous people knew that. I mean, I'm part Cherokee Blackfoot. Like a lot of Native Americans. Within
love
people
it.
go to the east, but within America, if you learn about the Cherokee and the Apache and the Blackfoot and
Yeah.
Iroquois,
Yeah.
like, you learn, it's just they have the same ideas,
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
So sometimes you don't have to go so far.
Totally. And we're thinking like in the UK, America, Australia, Canada, great potential, but the system is so against human potential, unless you venture out on your own and become an entrepreneur, a creative, or do something, that you've spent a lot of time and commitment on, you're stuck in a system that doesn't really, it's going to chew you up and spit you out.
Well, they want the
And
worker. I mean, we've been trained to be workers, right?
yeah,
We like a lot of American educational system is based on the agricultural or industrial schedule from the
right.
1800s. right? And now they're suddenly telling people, for years they told you just be a cog in a machine, push this button on the assembly line. Now they're telling you need critical thinking because AI is going to take away your job. But your system never taught critical thinking for like 300 years.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So how do you expect the population to suddenly start doing critical thinking when you all taught them to be the guy on the assembly line pushing a button?
Right. Right. But fundamentally, we're taught, for the most part, people are taught or inculcated to be consumers rather than producers. So this creates this huge consumer economy, and everyone's deluded with the same ideas. You mix with those people and you pick up the same vibrations as them, and then you think that's normal. But no, actually, there's a cream of the crop, let's say 5%, 10% people who are thinking completely different and living far superior, far happier lives. But they're not telling you that. You don't know them.
Yeah,
So,
it's like the talented 10th, W. Du Bois talked about it. Like there's always, because the American educational system, it caters to that A student.
yeah,
The one that's going to get the 1200 or whatever, 1400. That's the student they cater to, but they're failing. Like if 98% of your class can't get the A, like you're not a good teacher. Because like you need to actually be able to translate your language to everybody, and there are people who are got neurodiversity and neurodivergent, and you don't understand, like they're still valuable human beings, but you don't value them because they don't get your plan, right? Your plan doesn't fit. It's one size doesn't fit all.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's amazing because we'll get to your question as well. But I mean, this whole story narrative, just opens up so many different shades of meaning and concepts. And I think when we look at the school system and we realize that it's so narrow and people live with that same mindset, they leave school and they think they're equipped for life, for real life, and they get divorced and they get ill health and they lose their money or they don't know how to create a business. Everything's stacked against them, right? Let alone something I talk about a lot on the podcast, is mind power. No one talks about the mind. No one talks about 1 hour of instruction in your entire schooling have never told you what the mind is or what it can do.
Yeah.
Right? Why is that? Because
they
don't
teach
want
you to learn facts without any critical thinking. So you just repeat facts, right? And then you don't understand like how things work. I'm in software engineering, so I learned how the calculus and how the geometry actually applies within software.
Yeah.
But if you teach a kid without showing them how that works, if you teach them like physics and if you actually show them physics within a video game, right? And then they understand why Mario's bouncing around, they're going to get it. But if you just abstractly teach them and don't show them how it works in the real world, then the most of the class is not going to get it.
Correct.
See, that's the problem with the way we teach the knowledge. We just think it's like, oh, it's self-evident that you'll understand it without piecing it together in the wider world.
Exactly. So that whole issue is problematic because we deal with a lot of people who suffer for nothing simply because they didn't know enough or they don't have the right knowledge or they've been distracted with things that don't add any value anywhere and they've been told it's okay.
Well, you're gonna use AI to figure out what to wear. Is that the best use of it? It's like really? You're gonna use this resource to do something inane. Why would you do that? Is it because you're being told as a consumer to do that instead of like you're using it to improve yourself, like going and taking classes and learning things you don't know? Like, what don't I know? Then I should maybe try to learn. You're gonna get prompted. Use it to do these inane low things that make me money. They make the tech bro money, but they don't really help you.
No, right. Yeah, such a great point. So getting, funneling down to your question, your original question, because I'm very conscious of that as well. And, having this wide discussion can sometimes get people off on a tangent. But the thing is that studying all these things that we should have known from the beginning, I realized that, for example, one fundamental thing is air. And I'll get to why this makes sense in a minute. people think that air is just what the school system has told you. It's 21% oxygen, some nitrogen and hydrogen and so on. But that's far from the truth. That doesn't mean anything to you. It means very little to you as a human being. The truth is, and I got this from the yoga and Vedantic metaphysics, which I've studied for 25 to 30 years. So the truth is that this air, which we have all around us, contains light, electricity, and magnetism. Light, electricity, and magnetism. And it's with us all the time, 24/7, 365. It's always there.
Radiation as well.
That's it. It's all there. And if you don't know that, because you didn't question it, or you thought the school system told you enough, well, you're missing so much power, value, and potential. So you lose it all. So what I did is I found a way to channel this great electromagnetic power into the human being in a way that everybody can feel it tangibly within 30 to 90 seconds, and don't have to go off in the forest somewhere and meditate for 10 years. No, don't have to go to some special yoga retreat in Goa for 200 hours and get a certification. No, you don't need to do that. This method is so powerful because it unlocks your own powers in your brain. For example, endorphins, which are pain relieving hormones, dopamine, serotonin, which are feel good, happy hormones. Also, anandamide. Anandamide, a lot of people have no idea what that is. And ananda comes from the Sanskrit word from the yoga tradition, meaning bliss. And all human beings have a bliss molecule in their brain because we're all designed to be happy. Believe it or not, yes, all human beings are designed to be happy. So why would we have a bliss molecule in our brain if we were not fundamentally designed to be happy? See, this is where all the yoga secrets start to unfold, and you realize, oh, I've been sold, I've been played with a terrible paradigm that will never allow me to be happy fully.
Well, they want you to be happy via external inputs.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And not from within. Exactly. So this method also unlocks the vagus nerve, which is a very important part of the nervous system, on the parasympathetic nervous system for rest, digest, healing from trauma, healing from surgery, healing from injury, and so on. If you don't dial into the parasympathetic nervous system, you're always on freeze, fight, flight, go, adrenaline, fear, cortisol, all those things. And you never know how to pull it back.
That's how we live. We live in a fight with the wolves at the door.
Yeah.
Like we got virtual wolves at the door. We used to have a real wolf at the door. And now everything's like triggering your cortisol response, and you got people get burned out. And even like flipping doom scrolling on your phone is doing it. And you're getting lost because I know a lot of artists, we always feel like you have to disconnect. Like I can't be connected to the net if I'm gonna do a rehearsal, right? On my piano. And I'm in my piano room right now. But it's like I disconnect from all that because I can't have all that noise. Because if I'm gonna call the muse or muse within me, I can't have all these things like this, all this bad loops in my head. I got to kind of get to a space where you clear your mind, and you get into the creative zone. And I think too many people have all these triggers and inputs and devices are just overloading us.
Yeah, distraction. So you have signal, like Steve Jobs said. You've got signal and you've got noise, right? In your radio, when you tune in a radio, if you still have those, you got lots of frequencies and bandwidth, which are just all static, right? But you have to hone in on the music, pick up the musical broadcasts and that frequency, then you're a happy camper. So it's the same with the mind, exactly what you said. Understanding how the breath influences the body, this method that we engineered helps people fall asleep within 30 to 90 seconds, whereas before they used melatonin, zopiclone, and all kinds of psychiatric evaluations, which sometimes helped a little bit, but sometimes the sleep issue would come back again. So I'm looking for a way to completely wipe it out for 800 million people on this planet.
You get more control of your mind because so much of your mind is subconscious, like on an automatic pilot,
Right.
right? And if you can
Right.
start to focus, I've if you study like indigenous cultures or Eastern cultures, they have more focus on actually getting control of your mind and your body
Correct.
and your soul
Correct.
and your spirit, all the pillars.
Correct.
Where Western people tend to look, well, I would just work on my abs. Well, I would just work on my diet. They work at one thing at a time.
That's right.
When
That's
you
right.
actually have to kind of have a very expansive point of view, and that's harder for the Western mindset because we're always looking for the quick hit, the cheat sheet, the
That's
magic
right.
pill. That's always our solution is don't do the work.
Absolutely.
Have somebody else do
Absolutely.
the work.
Absolutely. But it goes deeper than that. Believe it or not, the concept goes deeper than that because when you brought up in the Western school system or the Western paradigm, everything becomes segmented and separated and split off. And they endorse individual effort and individual this and individual that. The team collective, oh no, you can't do exams for other people. No, no, no. It's got to be you. So you can often get isolated into this little box, and you carry that box with you for years, and you compound those ideas because they become habitual, and now they're your property, they're your IP essentially.
Yeah.
And you operate through that.
We don't
Right.
work with the community. Like indigenous culture is very communal.
Yeah.
A lot of it, like in terms of like understanding nature and Gaia and
Correct.
spirit and the past and respecting the earth and respecting other animals.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so it's like to the point where like we have a total disdain for anything other than us.
Yeah.
And so you tend to like, well, I can just, I don't have to care about what's in the river, what's in the ocean, what's in the air. Only have to care about what my little spot here.
Exactly.
And you have to eventually you have to walk over there.
Oh yeah.
But you don't think about it till you have to go there.
Correct. Such a good point. Such a good point. So, bringing all this back to sort of practical steps. This is an amazing time in humanity because people have since the COVID pandemic, people have been looking for natural remedies. They're fed up with doctors, big pharma. You've seen the big pharmaceutical, the trade, as it were, the industry is now only worth $2 trillion, whereas wellness is now worth $6 trillion a year, and it's scaling quickly. People want natural ways to heal, to find peace of mind, to overcome illnesses, to enhance their diets, to become more plant-based and less red meat, less processed foods, and things like that. So this is definitely the right time for things like this. And I myself, big advocate for natural methods because I've not been sick for 23 years. I've not taken many medicine for 23 years. I've not seen a doctor for 23 years. And doctors ask me, NHS doctors ask me, how do you do that? I said, it's electromagnetic force that I use. That's the real medicine because it protects you. It gives you an aura. It gives you electromagnetic influence, which grows and grows and grows the more you do the breathing methods.
I think it's real important to embrace like more, naturopathic and ideas, but because of what the industries that we have, like the food industry, was kind of taken over by a tobacco industry, and they're masters of using chemicals to get you addicted.
Yeah.
So a lot of the processed foods are full of addictive, chemicals. The basic chemicals that will trigger you to eat things that aren't good for you.
Yep.
And then build up all this poison. And then on top of that, we had, the whole modern world of electricity. We had, PCBs is dumped in the water. They're forever chemicals, right? These forever chemicals are just in our environment. We can't get away from them. So you need to find ways to defend against all this pollution that, brought you to 20th, 21st century, but there's a cost.
Yeah.
And the cost is disease.
Absolutely. And I think, when I'm very philosophical, people who know me, I'm all over YouTube now and all these various podcasts, LinkedIn and everything. And people have heard my story and they're like, So you want to use, just like we have electric cars now, and I love using electric cars because they're smooth, they're clean, they don't have that horrible pollution in the atmosphere. Things are getting better in terms of looking at alternative fuel sources. But why not the human also run off electricity? Because we are fundamentally electrical.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Where
not
I
flesh
mean,
and bone.
everybody can feel that with the vibes,
Exactly.
I'm a synthesis, but so I deal with oscillators, waveforms,
There you
and
go.
every musician knows that like when you are in harmony in a live concert, you can get everybody, waving their hands and have the
That's
lighter up.
it.
If you
That's right.
go and do like a grunge show and you're discordant and noisy, it creates a different effect. Everybody's in a mosh pit. You can
Correct.
trigger the behavior from your music,
Correct.
and that's a
Absolutely.
vibration, and it's a signal
Correct.
going through the air, and when you become a master, your voice, if you're a public speaker, it's an instrument.
Yeah,
You can do the
exactly.
same thing. So the
Exactly.
like you can equate what music is to what, speaking is the same thing. It's just you can do patterns in poetry that are musical. You can do patterns in
Absolutely.
prose that are musical. So you can
Yeah.
still trigger the same effect.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. It's all about the intent that comes from within, and then using our own electricity to express that outwardly. So absolutely right. So I fully believe that this is the energy medicine is the way of the future. Zero side effects with what we do. No meds required whatsoever. 100% natural. No doctors needed. No physicians. No psychiatric staff or anything like that. No complex diagnostics, which
Mhm.
make people worried and upset what the test results are going to be. I say, look, you don't need you don't need that. So a lot of people endorse what we do. It's like the Three Musketeers from metaphysics: Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, and Greg Braden. They talk about these concepts a lot as well. Have done for years. But I bring a different kind of blend of different experiences, and the meeting with an avatar in India was pivotal for me. And understanding the true yoga mindset, being able to read people's energy and understand what they're going through to help them unravel or unscramble their confusion is also extremely helpful. Which what I do in coaching. So yeah,
So is the 3 by 3, what can you explain what the 3 by 3 is?
yeah. So the 3-3 method. Do you want to do it for a moment or two? How do you feel about that? Have we got the time
Oh,
or
we
not
can
really?
try.
Okay. Okay. I can show you like a very short snippet, like within a few seconds, and you can follow along and see how you feel. So it's essentially, I'll give you the short form. There's a lot more to it, but I'll try to make it as succinct as I can. So it's if you breathe in. Have you tried breathing methods before?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Buddhist. I do chanting and breathing other exercise, Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism.
Excellent. Wow. Awesome. Yeah, I studied Tibetan Buddhism for 10 years as well. So yeah. Okay. So in this method, if you breathe in 3 parts through the nose like this, and then 3 parts out the mouth like this. Now it has to be a ha sound coming from the back of the throat.
Like
There
that.
you go. To activate the vagus nerve. Exactly. So there you go. Do it a few times. If you have your eyes closed for a moment. Keep your eyes closed for a minute, just for a few moments, and tell me what you notice and how you feel. I know we just did a very, very short one, but do you notice a sense of peace and calm and a bit of flow state or anything?
I seem a little more like I'm not is anxious.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. So this is how we get people to release more and more brain hormone to enable them to fall asleep as well, because that's what happens. You get in a very flow state, calm, relaxed state, mental chatter diminishes, stress diminishes, and then you can much more easily fall asleep.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people are probably suffering from insomnia because of modern world stress. The stress bubble. Because we got in the world of work. I'm in the
Yeah.
information technology, and one of the problems is like we're 24/7. So everybody's got their smartphone and their smartwatch, and then the boss goes and pings you at 11:35 at 2:30 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and we're
Oh,
connected. So part of the problem is that we don't know when to shut off because we're like on call like all the time.
mm,
And there's an expectation, like if you're in a startup mentality, well, you got to be there. So the world of work. I mean, you could be in a 9 to 5, but you can be in this kind of hyper world of the startup where you're expected to do 120 hours.
I'll
It's
tell you a
like,
secret. I want to tell you a secret. I'll tell you a secret. So the truth, the fact is, you can do all of that because it's wonderful to be creative and productive and earn as much as you want and do whatever projects. The trick is this: if you can dial in sympathetic and parasympathetic and blend them together, you're in a state of flow all day, every day. So nothing stresses you out. But if you can't attain that flow state, any small thing can stress you out.
mm,
So I remain in flow state all day, every day. Nothing bothers me. My electromagnetic energy helps people have peace, calm, harmony. No one can fight with me. No one can fight with me because I'm not fighting myself. So I have no fighting energy outside, unless I'm doing martial arts. That's different. But so that's the key. If you can dial in parasympathetic and sympathetic together, the sun and the moon together, and blend them through the breath, everything is so much easier and flowing, and everything is cool. Everything you want to do is flowing like this, not like this.
yeah.
It's
I think a lot of people, they get on a treadmill because they don't know how to set up boundaries,
yeah,
and then they get overwhelmed because they can't figure out a way to process things where they can walk away and take a breath, right?
mm,
They feel like they're on a hamster wheel.
yeah,
And if and it can that's kind of like you control that. So you have to
yeah,
kind of say like what you're able to process and get better. Like at the beginning, you might not be able to process like 90%.
yeah.
So you start to build up what you can process comfortably without freaking out.
Correct, correct,
But everybody wants to
exactly.
go 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to go 0 to 100 if you don't have the tools.
So true. That is so true. We was actually doing a live stream yesterday, and in America, of course, a lot of people drive a lot. They have to in traffic. We know what that's like. A lot of people get upset with road rage and people cutting them off, and they go
Mm,
mental, right? So
yeah.
what we said is, look, dial into parasympathetic in 30 seconds with 12 of these breaths, and you won't feel any desire to get revenge or any desire to get mad. You just calm down with a proper energetic shift. And you're not trying to force yourself to be happy. No, you are genuinely happy because you've alchemized, like Paulo Coelho said, The Alchemist. You transfer negative emotions into positive emotions and you've reset yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
that's the artistic mindset. I mean, that's what we do.
yeah,
When I create a piece of music, it's usually taking something that was emotional and turning it into a creative piece.
yeah,
So it's a
yeah,
kind of how do you take that and not punch the wall, not get mad, right? An artist goes to the piano, they go to their sax, they go to their page, and they take that emotion and they turn it into something. It's a
that's right.
cathartic
Yeah,
transfer.
yes,
Some people don't know how to do that without being violent, without being angry, without being, and it doesn't go anywhere other than into a destructive like loop.
correct. Correct, absolutely. Also, when you have 4th of July celebrations or St. Patrick's Day or Christmas or whatever it happens to be, a lot of people get triggered in social situations with family. So all you have to do is go to the restroom, WC, toilet, whatever you want to call it, and you just do this method, sitting on the toilet if you have to, right? Whatever. And you can do this 10 to 12 times, and you will again evaporate or dissolve all of that negative static and emotion that you were troubled with. It's all
Mm-hmm.
gone. All gone. And you come out with a smiling face, and people think, you seemed a bit tense. No, I'm fine. Everything's cool. But you're not faking it. You actually feel that.
But you're pulling in like the mind, like you're bringing in your. Because we always we talked about like the external is always the solution within the society I'm living in,
Yeah.
and when you start to go inward, like the looking glass self, like
Yes.
if you have that looking glass self point of view and it's like, hey, I have control. Where a lot of times we're told like you don't have control, you have to get control for some external mechanism.
Yeah. Right.
And so you
Exactly.
found, like with your 33 Insomnia Hack, you found a process that goes inward.
Yep. Yep. And gets people in their happy place quick and easy. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to want to meditate for 3 hours a day. You don't have to do any of that. That's what I worked on for years, to engineer a process that would benefit most of humanity. The only people it doesn't work for, just have to say this, are people who have extreme hyperventilation issues and people who have severe panic disorders, because they really dysregulate their own breath with their own fear and their own crazy emotional states. So yeah, so those are the only people it doesn't work for, but 95% of people it does work for.
Well, I do want to thank you for being here today. We do have your https://33 insomniahack.com for those of you that are listening. In the video version of this, you'll be able to go to the podcast description. We've been live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick, and be able to click on that. If people click on it, that URL, what do they find there?
They'll find information about this new methodology in terms of being able to dial down stress, anxiety, overcome insomnia, and all the stresses that come around that. You'll see a lot of testimonials from the NHS, Oracle, Novartis, Philips Electronics, and a lot of other independent psychiatric workers around the world. You get Q&A, get some really good information. You can email us, you can buy the program. So at the moment, $97. You get the full program to enable you to dial the method in and integrate it. And there are other people who want to do deeper transformations. They can email us for that or WhatsApp us, and we can help.
No, we do encourage people, if you want to get the deeper truth of this, click on that link. It's fully clickable on all the podcast platforms. We're going to be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, VO Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast by tomorrow. And I want to thank you for being on the show today.
It's great. Great. Thank you so much for the amazing conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.